Yo, what's up? This is your boy Postman, and you're tuned in to Post in a Diary Room. Welcome to Post in a Diary Room. And as you may know, every day is a good day to get a delivery from the postman. And of course, if this is your very first time tuning in, please kindly like, share, subscribe, comment, do whatever is necessary to engage with the content, and most importantly, enjoy this review of KO's latest offering. Now, this is a project that is titled Phara City. So the project actually came after the release of SR3, which is Kanda Republic 3. And then, of course, you may remember that's a project that featured the likes of Rockabye alongside DOS, as well as Sete alongside Blackie, as well as Young Stunner. And of course, importantly, in as far as this whole project is concerned, before this project was supposed to be a project called I Think You Spoke Too Soon, which was a project that was likely going to consist of songs like Let Me Cook, King Size, Basop, as well as Too Much with Nasty C. But then, of course, things then took a turn when KO had then decided to come through with a project that he felt was then rather more cohesive and well thought through. And that project, of course, is then Phara City. So this is a project that tackles themes related to corruption, social ills. But most importantly, I want to start with the term para. So the term para is more or less a derogatory term to describe a person who actually hustles through people. This is like a social scientist, if you like. And these are people that actually work with people and they ponder through people. And yeah, so that's what a para is. So basically, what KO was trying to then bring across is that each and every person is a parasite in their own respect. In modern day South Africa, in corporate, in parliament, in every sphere of society, there is a para, and all of us are paras in our own respective rights. So, but more than anything, this is a very, I think, short and concise project. It's well thought through. It's trimmed into 14 joints. I don't like the last song, which is, of course, Push It. And I don't also like the song Joiner. What I'm trying to say is, I really didn't like the song Push It. And I really didn't like Push It as a closure because, most importantly, I think how you more or less end the project is as important as it is when you're beginning or introducing the project. Well, I think Push It for me was more of a bonus track, a song that was not really necessary in as far as this whole project is concerned, at least when you consider the closure element of the entire project. But I did feel as though California for me leaves the project a bit on a high. It's one song that more or less leaves everything as sparkling because in the very beginning things are very dark, things are very shaky, things are very aggressive. There's a lot of verbal aggression that we are getting from KO. And then obviously as we go down into the project, things get a lot brighter, things get a lot more peaceful, a lot more introspective, a lot more less intricate, but a lot more. I think they do get a lot more sentimental for the most part, and they become cooler. The song also California being in question might also be a song that for me makes us or drives us into a space where we now need to even have a conversation about KO's hook game. But the songs that I really enjoyed in as far as this whole project is concerned would have to be the Malevin joint. What I actually did understand from just listening to the song there, it's that it kind of also ties into the whole aspect of what Paracity is all about, because obviously in the beginning he kind of introduces the idea, but now where Maleven kind of sits, where it's like the fifth track on the project, it's more like this is where we're at the midpoint or almost at the midpoint of the project. Now he adds a clip of Maleven where Maleven is basically saying, you'll give me money when I want it, you understand? And he's basically detailing some of the egregious stuff that he's done throughout the years as a criminal. And then KO comes in with a very aggressive tone and he basically dominates the beat. Also, what I like about this project in particular is that it kind of also reminded me, particularly the song Malevin, it more or less reminded me of a KO in SR1 where he did the song Inombolo. There's also like a sense of the song itself being a lot more cinematic, especially when you consider the fact that there's like taxis hooting, where you also get the sense that this is life in Johannesburg, where there's taxis hooting and people just talking their shit. More than anything, the project is superstar started. Like it features a lot of superstars like Casper Nyovest, most importantly on the song Supernova, as well as 25K and MT on the song Togoza, as well as Nalidia Piwe. Then we also do have Black Diamond also featured on this project. And also importantly, with the cover, and the cover on its own is a cover that tells a story on its own. I think the leads on the floor, to me, are quite significant because they represent the decline of the Johannesburg CBD over the years, but also they, in a sense, also represent the decline of South Africa, where we have a lack of infrastructure development. He does very well in introducing this idea of Ipara, where he's basically playing around with the different types of paras, where he describes government officials as paras in Hugo Boss, as well as these different paras or street dwellers that are referring to him as uncle, where he's like, take on a malumo so bamba le tiger then and move along. You understand? What I actually like about this project is that it's actually in touch with some of the realities that people are either going through or some of the realities that we can all relate to in our respective lives as South Africans. Hush Money, easily one of my favorite songs here. It's about quiet money, imali engakhulumi, money that you can just actually see. It doesn't flex, it doesn't do too much. Yeah, here I think I would say is also addressing someone in particular, but also is addressing people who are new money, people who are corrupt. They usually splurge money and they use it incorrectly in terms of like they get a tender and then they take that tender and then buy Louis Vuittons, all these things, and just splurge it on things that don't really matter, forgetting the job at hand, and in turn then they face corruption scandals and all these other things where they now have to be at the Zondo Commission. Then particularly the songs Maleven and Paradise, for me, they are closely linked, especially when you think about the whole idea of para. That is pretty much alive throughout the course of the album. But also the song Paradise coming through just before the project kind of dropped was a song that, for me, in my opinion, it's a song that I actually like, and it's kind of a song that is more of a ghetto gospel kind of song, in my opinion, where you have young Stunner then coming through with a gospel feel, like melodic feel. From just listening to the song Paradise, I just kind of also got the sense that KO here was basically dabbling around two different perspectives, and he's speaking from a perspective of the perpetrator being the para, as well as the victim perspective, where now he's basically stressed about the fact that yes, he heard that people actually broke into the house, but he's kind of also stressed about the fact that, they might have touched his fro, and he's just easily, he's thinking about that very closely. He's like, yo, I hope they didn't touch a fro. And then also he shares a frustration piece from a para's perspective, where a para is also kind of saying like, "Ish, because of the limited opportunities that are there in the country, I'm now gonna try, and Bambi lang bamba corn, and then yeah, make a living for myself because there is no employment." Para Love is more or less a continuation of Scandal Love, in my opinion. The most spoken about joint, the hit, which is of course Supernova, where Casper is kind of also like did his thing there. He killed it. I think that song is gonna do wonders in the summer. But No Chorus is a song that is, yeah, KO is kind of addressing the game there. I think he's addressing someone in particular, but we all have our own speculations as to who he's addressing. But I am pretty sure that he's addressing the guys in the current era, the new guys, the new faces, and I'm pretty sure he's had run-ins with them, and he wasn't really impressed with the etiquette. Good project from KO. I think this project for me is easily up there with the best projects that released in 2025. I think KO here actually put through his best foot forward, and I actually do like the fact that the idea of the para idea doesn't all more or less get lost, and the overall storyline is pretty much clear because he's talking about life in modern day South Africa, or life in current South Africa, or modern day South Africa, where there's just a lot of issues that we are dealing with as a country, and he more or less took time to address those things. So in that fashion, I think this project has a lot of replay value, a lot of nuggets, a lot of things to return to. And it's not a project where I feel like we can just understand in one go. I think this is easily a project that might even age well, especially when you consider KO's catalog. I think this is his best project in a long time. I think this project for me by KO easily gets an 8 out of 10. KO's latest offering, titled Phara City, gets an 8 out of 10 from me. Post in a diary, please kindly like, share, subscribe, comment, do whatever is necessary to engage with the content, and most importantly, I will see you on the next one.